Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with Kev. It has been a while since me and Kev have done a pod with various trips, various shows here and there. You and Martin covering for me while I was gallivanting in Amsterdam, and then trying to. But yes, it has been an eventful last few days for Aston Villa, and we're obviously going to talk about last night's wonderful achievement of making it to the quarterfinals, but I thought we'd also take a trip down memory lane about Aston Villa's Champions League journey so far, just to reminisce a little bit, and also then to ask the ultimate question at the end towards the end of the show. And we won't get into that yet. But make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and help us on the road to 6,000 subscribers. And we want to get to 10K as soon as we can. Loads of people in the chat already.
Just going to say, is the ultimate question whether the moon landings was faked? Is that what we're talking about? Or is it someone else?
Will there ever be a boy born that can swim faster than the shark? I think that's the question.
Yeah, that's. Would you rather be a weasel-faced arse or an arse-faced weasel?
Yeah.
We'll
weasel probably.
Yeah, we'll keep going. If you put your answer in the comments, please, what you think about that last question, that'd be great.
But no, we'll keep it Champions League. We'll keep it Champions League.
We will.
But Kev, first of all, I mean, you were at the game last night. What a game! What an atmosphere! What an achievement!
Yeah, I mean, look, I've waxed lyrical about what the job Unai has done for a long time. I know a lot of Villa fans, I'm sure, will have experienced the same feelings I felt about it. But I think on this pod, I've almost defended anything for him. But I've seen some of the national media talking about it now. I heard like BBC on the radio talking about it last night, and I heard a bit of the Talk Sport, which obviously can sometimes be a bit hit and miss. But where they were saying like, is this the greatest performance of any manager in the Premier League in terms of turnaround? I have said this for a significant amount of time now. I think he's the best manager in the world. I don't see, the clubs he's done, the things he's done with, is unbelievable. The level of performance he's had. I mean, he's won 4 Europa Leagues at the, in old money UEFA Cups. He's taken Villarreal, which is like basically taking, not quite Bromsgrove Sporting, but you get my point, like a provincial team, to the Champions League semi-finals, and he's taken Aston Villa, who not even 2.5 years ago were languishing at the bottom end of the Premier League under one of the biggest hype managers out there, who'd done a good job at Rangers. And I think I worked out 9 of those players that were in that squad, maybe 10, played last night, either from the start or from the bench. To take us from that position halfway through the season to finish in Europe was beyond our wildest dreams. To then qualify for the Champions League. And you think about sometimes some of the ups and downs of this season, some of the inconsistency of the league form. And here we are. It's nearly the Ides of March, as Julius Caesar would say, 15th of March, right? God, that's my English at school, remembered there. And yet here we are with a FA Cup quarterfinal, great chance for the semis, championship team. We've gone further than Liverpool and Man City in the Champions League and got to the quarterfinals against a highly prestigious and very, very fancy team in PSG. And we're only still within touching distance of the top 4, top 5 positions to qualify for it again. I think he should be knighted. I think we need a statue for him now. I mean, it's been the level of performance and consistency and what he's given to Villa fans in terms of, we've over the years wanted a bit of hope and a bit of belief, but now it's gone beyond belief. Now we're actually believing in success. And that is just a different level now for this fan base. And soak it in, everybody. Just soak it in. Enjoy every moment.
Well, I mean, look, the pictures for the atmosphere. I mean, the tifos have been phenomenal. The scarves, the fireworks, just everything. But before we'll touch a bit on the players and the performance yesterday before we kind of take, like I say, a trip down memory lane. But what I just liked about yesterday's game was the professionalism that we showed in terms of going through in the Champions League second leg. Yes, it wasn't the most expansive performance in the first half. Yes, it was a bit sloppy, but looking back on it, Bruges had one header wide, and they didn't really have any other chances apart from that. And
Block
that's
shots.
yeah, like, I remember sort of back in the day when you used to be 0-0 at half time or whatever. He was like, "Yeah, we're happy with that. We'll attack the Holt in the second half and we'll go for it." And that was kind of like old Villa, But this was different in the fact that we were already 3-1 up from the first leg. We didn't need to go after the game. We didn't need to do it, exert ourselves. We just needed to be professional. And I really do think the players have learned quite a lot from being in that Conference League last season and understanding the peaks and troughs of not just seasons and going for the Champions League, but peaks and troughs within a game, within a two-legged tie. We basically won that tie in 10 minutes of the first leg. That's where we won it. We won it in the first leg where we made those four substitutions and got those 2 goals towards the end. That was the tie done because we were in the driving seat. Then we were in the controlling. We were the controlling team. So that's what I really liked about it: the professionalism of the performance, and I didn't really have any doubt that we would go through.
Yeah, it was something last night where there was a few gripes near me, and there was times in the first half where it was very pedestrian. It was a bit sloppy at times, but you got a team in Bruges that they get the ball, they zip it about, they move it
Mm,
quickly. That they are not a shabby team. We saw that because we were probably lucky to get that 3-1, in their place. If it'd been the other way
100%.
around, with the own goal and the penalty, that easily could go the other way, and then you're facing, down the barrel a little bit. Obviously, they've had some great performances to get this far. They beat Atalanta, Europa League winners, 3-1 away to get to this match, obviously, against Aston Villa in the round of 16. So they're no mugs. We saw that. I even saw some media of the week from Watkins saying like probably one of the most difficult teams that he's faced because they're
Mm-hmm.
really at it, really tenacious and ferocious, and don't give you a minute's rest. And when you add to that probably Unai said to them, take it easy, take the pace out of the game. Don't take too many risks, because if you take a risk, you've got more chance of conceding. You concede, they get their tails up, momentum, you got more chance of losing. I was pretty calm. I was a bit bored in the first half, but I was pretty calm because you know what? It was the epitome of a professional performance to get the job done. We never really looked in danger, which is for Aston Villa. I mean, even at Celtic recently, we're cruising, we're looking at the league table. All of a sudden, they scored 2 goals in, quick time, and then oh my god, we're now out of the top 8. There's always some kind of drama. It felt like it was watching Real or Barcelona. Just we're negotiating this tie in a professional way, and that's Unai with all his experience. And you cannot understate, even though it didn't go our way last season in terms of the Olympiacos game, all of those games in Europe, what we did when we came back against Lille to obviously force the penalty shootout. Obviously, playing teams like Ajax, all of this European football, the bloody nose from Legia Warsaw, we got all the stuff this season. That's all miles on the clock for this team now. And I know it's not been years and years, but it's been well over 20 European games in the last couple of years now. I think pushing 30, hopefully, if we get past PSG. And that level of experience cannot be understated. Then you bring players in of the Asensio, Disassi, Rashford type caliber, and we are now, let's say irrefutably, we're a top quality side with European pedigree and recent European experience, and we are a threat to anybody now in any match.
100%. Lewis says Kevin is the best football club in the world too. Gary says too right. Kev doesn't need money like the so-called elite managers, i.e. Emery could even get Birmingham City in Europe.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. We're definitely not getting the credit we deserve, says Kevin. I'll come to that in a bit later on that. James says get it done. Prince William, Lord Unai of Aston. Michael said, I've said many times the season is a marathon, not easy to run, but take each mile in your stride. And Yentonian says Villa are about to hit form for the first time this season and will finish the season strongly. And
Yep.
Luke said, we got through to the quarterfinal of the Champions League with no suspensions or injuries other than Watkins. We would have won the Conference League if we didn't have a shoestring squad up the Villa. So it's one of that, and this is what I was going to come to. All the pundits wrote Villa off from the start of the Champions League. We're too tired, blah blah blah. Who's in the last eight? Exactly, and that's what you got to say. And we have got the squad now. We have got the firepower, and I think a lot of teams are now taking notice and understanding what Unai Emery's done. And look, we're just enjoying it, whether we go out in this round or whatever. The journey, the money, everything else is just everything's just a bonus. But quick sort of whistle stop tour of the game. I mean, obviously it hinged on the red card, but I mean, Marco Asensio. I mean, what more is there to say about this guy? I mean, 7 goals already since he's come into the club, 3 doubles. He just knows where the goal is, doesn't he? He's just the movement for that first goal. I mean, he plays the first pass on the right hand side. He then moves across the box. He keeps moving into different areas, and then Bailey spots him, plays that lovely little chip, and then it's just a first-time shot. He knows exactly where the goal is. He knows exactly what he wants to do before he gets the ball, and he's almost got that first touch in his head, which you know that's a world-class player, and we've got him in our team.
Yeah, well, I was looking at just double-checked it now. The most goals he's ever got in a season is 12. I mean, he's got 7 in 8 games for us. I mean, I think the way he's going to become the top scorer, and he's going to beat Alan Shearer's record in the Premier League this season. It's everything he does, and I'm disappointed he didn't score more last night. There was a cross that got flashed across that I think he didn't quite connect with, and that was obviously the one where he got played through by Yuri and hit the post. And look, there's totally. By the way, massive credit where credit's due from Bailey, and what a finish that was. But the knack of being in the right position at the right time is not lucky. It's not lucky. There is absolute years of experience and technical nous to know when to make the run, to know how to get away from the defender. He's someone that is an absolute goal threat, and he's, like I say, he's not like he's been, one of the attacking midfielders that scores, 15, 20 goals a season. He's got 12 a couple of times from Madrid, and I think a couple of 10s and 11s. And you look at this season, he's going to get double figures for us by the way he's going. He's going to get double figure for us.
I mean, he scored 3 in the Champions League, 2 in the Premier League, and 2 in the FA Cup, isn't it? So, I mean, he's scoring in every single competition. Like it's not as if we're just wheeling him out for a couple of games here or there. It's like every single game, and whether he's starting, whether he's coming off the bench, whether he's coming on late in a game, he is making an impact. And Luke's saying here, he plays the game. He looks like he's playing his own match at his own pace, and his movement and touch is poetry. And this brings me to my other point, and I think I can't remember who said it. It might have been Gabby on TalkSport said it's amazing how like players of a certain level kind of just get each other. And you look at how Rashford just gets Asensio, or Asensio gets Rashford, like the little touches, the first time touches, bringing the ball down, instantly controlling it, cutting cutbacks, and then Asensio's just running onto it. These players are on a different trajectory as some other players. Ollie Watkins, he is a different type of player. Don't get me wrong. He is a try hard. He is he has maximised every single ounce out of his ability out, same as someone like John McGinn. But you see players like Asensio and Rashford who are just on that, just a different trajectory, different level. It's a joy to watch when they're in full flow.
Yeah, it really is. There's times when we're taking the ball in tight areas, and I'm thinking, there's not room for that. What are you doing? Like literally really tight areas, and then all of a sudden they manage to do like 3 or 4 triangles and like intricate dinks and passes, and I'm like, we've still got the ball. Like I wouldn't have even thought about playing that pass. You've got like 3 defenders within a meter of you. But yeah, it's absolute quality, and look, confidence is massive in football. Rashford obviously seems like he's got his confidence back. Asensio is clearly flying with confidence, and for players in terms of Rashford that couldn't get in Man United's squad, and was apparently not as good as the 60-odd-year-old coach. Asensio apparently was a busted flush, and and that was him done now. Couldn't didn't work out at PSG. We're looking like we've made the 2 signings of the window. I mean, I know Rashford kind of floats in and out of games at times, but and I know he's quiet in some games, but you've got to consider the context of the game. Away at a Palace, for example, when you're not getting much of the ball, he's not going to have that much time to shine. But I thought there's been moments in games where he's been absolutely fantastic, and
look at Disassi the other day against Brentford.
he's been great. He's been absolutely great. Disassi has as well. The
A
quality of
defender who loves defending.
he also loves attacking as well.
He does. He does.
Yeah, the quality of the players we've brought in. I mean the upgrade we made in January, and this is the thing as well. We haven't even got Marlon and Garcia in the squad.
I know.
Absolute crazy. And look, to bring on and off the bench the quality that we've got is great. And it's also great to see players like JJ, obviously a local lad, playing in the games like that. Leano, obviously, who's been much maligned by me as well as anybody else, to be contributing last night. There's players like Ian Matson who's been
goal and an assist in this last 16.
Yeah, hit and miss this season, and look what he's done now. And you got an Anana back in the squad. Barkley not too far away. Wow,
How Torres got minutes yesterday.
How got minutes as well. Yeah, like it's exciting times, isn't it?
Yeah, just to finish off on this game and this point, before we, like I say, go through the games. I'm going to do it in groups of games. Not going to do every game. We'll be here all night. But Dickie, and I wanted to make this point as well, and it's really good segue into it. It says, do you think Mings being back in the defence has made us more solid at the back? And the team seems to be growing in confidence every game. I absolutely 100% agree with this. And I just think it's such it's so good as a club in terms of the culture, in terms of the identity of the club, that Tyrone Mings and John McGinn in particular have contributed to bringing us from the Championship through to the Premier League, not just surviving in the Premier League, not just finishing in European places, not just finishing in the Champions League places, but now playing in the game that gets us into the last 8 of the Champions League. It is incredible, and they are still huge contributors to this football club. You can hear Tyrone Mings shouting on the pitch. You can hear him telling people where to be and what to do. And it is absolutely no coincidence that our defence, and Ezri Konsa looks like a different player when he's playing alongside Tyrone Mings. It is absolutely no coincidence that we've looked much more solid with him improving on his fitness, but also improving the whole team.
Yeah, look, in the recent kind of era of Aston Villa, post relegation, that whole, dreary, horrible season under Remy Gard, and obviously Eric Black in the end, whatever it was, and if you look at the players that have made a difference to this club, there are certain names that stand out, right? You've got to give a massive shout out to the likes of a James Chester, Conor Harahan. I absolutely love. I'm sure a lot of Villa fans do. It was so phenomenal for us. Snodgrass was brilliant. Obviously, Jack played his part. More than played his part in those years. Other players, that did bits that made a massive difference. An El Ghazi, a Tammy Abraham in that season. Early years of the Premier League, you would have had players that maybe weren't quite there, but had moments. Even like Courtney Hawes, etc., etc. Headers at Old Trafford. But consistently through that entire period, there's 2 players that stand out, and that is John McGinn, captain of the club, and Tyrone Mings. And again, I've had debates with Villa fans on Twitter. We've had conversations on his podcast. We worry about the knee, we worry about the injuries. Every time he goes down, you feel like this could be it for his career.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind that if we play in a match, which is a cup final type match, he's starting. Because I don't know if you ever know this stat, but when Mings has played under Emery, we average over 2 points a game.
Yeah,
when Mings plays, and that is guaranteed Champions League qualification every year. Basically, he's got so much better on the ball than he used to be. And that he nearly scored the other day from an attacking position.
It was unbelievable, wasn't it?
I was like, come on, Tyrone. Is that Mings? He's a leader. You can hear him shouting, and you're absolutely right. Do you know what? There's a moment I saw the other day, and I absolutely loved it. And it was in a Brentford game, and it was such a minor moment, but there was a point when we had a corner, and like Ezri and Ty were, I call him Ty, my mates. were like chatting, and I remember thinking, oh, how we didn't even think this would ever happen again. This linchpin of our defence, the Mings combination, and here we are, 10 minutes to go against Brentford, and they're having a chat about what they're going to do from the corner. I just thought, you know what, I just love to see it. He's passionate, he's strong, he's got the heart of a lion. He's so likable, and he's only still, what is he, 30? Like, actually,
It's his
some of these,
birthday today, isn't it? It's his birthday today, I'm sure.
yeah, well, yeah, I think it was
32,
He's
32 today.
okay, 32. I've aged him, but he has had some injuries over the years,
He
and
has.
maybe hasn't got the same level of miles on the clock. And people have been writing him off. I would absolutely love it for us to do something this season, and for there to be like a juxtaposition of like Mings on the way back from the train station in his Villa kit to Bournemouth after the playoff final, and then with some kind of trophy in his hands. Like, it'd be amazing. So huge credit to both those guys. Are they done? Is their time over? No, they are still integral parts of this team.
Yeah. Man with the golden gun says Mings being back has definitely made us more solid. It's tightened our left-hand side of defence up. Teams always seem to come down our left. Mings being back has put a stop to that. He's also so important for balls into the box,
Yep.
for clearances. And like every defender makes the odd mistake, but Mings has always been 100% man. So if he's going to make a mistake, he will do it because he's going for the ball, or he's going for a header, or he's going for a tackle. He won't do it because he's dilly dallying, or he's hesitating. Barring the kind of Bruges mistake.
Yeah, well, which obviously was an absolute masterclass, because it meant we got to play Bruges in the round of 16.
Exactly.
But also, there's no one else in our squad other than maybe a Nana that's going to get that set up for Bailey's goal in the first leg. So that physical presence in the attacking areas has made a massive difference there as well.
Yeah. Guys, please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We're growing numbers by the second on this show. It's going to be a fun show as well. Hit the like button though, hit the subscribe button. We're marching on to almost 5,500 subscribers. Want to get 6K ASAP, and keep your comments flowing in. So let's go right back though, Kev, and we'll do this group of games because we were all nervous, excited. We had such anticipation going into this Champions League run this season. We didn't quite know what to expect with the new format of it. And I remember us speaking when I was on holiday about we got the draw, and we knew we had Bayern Munich coming to Villa Park. We knew we had to go to Leipzig. We had Juventus coming to Villa Park as well. But we were kind of quietly confident about the start that we would have, because I know we were playing Young Boys away the first game, and then I think it was Bayern the next game. And what a start we got out of the blocks with. The right from the first whistle against Young Boys, Yuri Tillemans, Jacob Ramsey, Amadou Onana, a 3-0 victory really did set us up for, on the right path with how to go about this competition.
Yeah, I know that obviously they weren't a particularly great side, but as we've seen in Europe the last couple of years, we've had some ropey results, against teams that we would have thought we would have done better against. And they always say, like, going away is hard, particularly in Europe. So to go away in your first Champions League game in 41 years, I think it was at the time, 41, 42 years, and to have such a professional performance. And really, Watkins had one disallowed that should have been disallowed. Duran had
one disallowed.
Lovely strike,
brilliant goal. Yeah,
great move. It could have been 5 or 6. And that kind of consummate performance, it was just the perfect tonic for us in terms of, we had a bit of a fear about Champions League. What's it going to be like? You do that, then obviously you head into the home match against Bayern. This is where we'll get found out. This is where we'll get put back in our box. And I'm sure many football fans thought the same. Well, wasn't the case, was it, Richard?
Well, there he was, the man himself, and I think the overriding memory of that night was just the atmosphere, just the whole occasion. And for the Champions League as a whole, for the whole Champions League competition, it probably wasn't that big. And maybe even for Bayern Munich, it wasn't that big. They've been in all these games before and all that kind of stuff. But for Villa, it was like, right, this brings back every memory of 1982. and playing Bayern Munich and being back in the Champions League for the first time in whatever format. And I think the players really bought into that occasion. And that was the game about Emi Martinez, wasn't it? The saves he made, and then it was just about taking the chance, taking the opportunity when it came. And Pau Torres plays that ball through, and John Duran. I mean, if he's remembered for one moment, it's going to be that moment. I mean, but again, in the context of the competition, gave us another 3 points that was almost like right, you could tick that off as 3 points that we wouldn't be expected to get. That's another step close to getting into that top 24.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, I think, when people really started to say, you know what, Aston Villa are back in the Champions League. But even then, it was tinged with but backs against the wall against Bayern, and needed a wonder goal, and so we didn't really still fully get the credit. But 6 points out of 6, and you're absolutely right, Richard. Like all of the links, like we've got with PSG, actually, with all the links between the players and the managers, etc. But with Bayern, that the history of that one iconic moment that stands out amongst everything else in our history, that we as kids, and I'm sure all the people who are tuning in tonight would have been told by, unless they remember it, of course, they were lucky enough to remember it at the time. I was just told by my old man Rotterdam and what happened, and that the Bayern Munich, the size of the club that they are, we were derided. You only beat Dynamo Berlin and Anderlecht and Valur, I think it was in the rounds, but Bayern Munich are a proper team. So to get them in our first game back in the Champions League with, some of the old players, obviously that played in the 82 final, and to not look out of place and to play such a performance. I mean, let's not forget, we had Philogene playing wing back in that game. So it wasn't like, we had fully fit squad and all that. It was just the perfect start. And then, you all of a sudden, you joint top of the league, 6 points out of 6. And the Champions League journey started, baby.
Yeah, man, it was, and then it got better. It got even better because then it was almost like just bring anyone on. It was like, oh well, we've got Bologna on as a home game. That's going to be a standard win, and it actually proved to be that. I mean, it was probably up there with one of our best performances of the season, to be honest, because it was a complete and utter cruise fest in terms of the win. And I think McGinn scored direct from a free kick. And then a lovely finish from John Duran again off a Morgan Rogers cross. And yeah, it could have been more, but that was actually almost a complete performance in terms of European game. And yeah, 9 points out of 9. And everyone was now saying, right, well, Villa have kind of got 1 foot in this top 24 now.
Yeah, I was at that game, luckily enough. I didn't get to go to Bayern, but I went to the other ones in the Champions League. And Bologna was a really confident performance. And again, you think like 6 points out of 6, getting one more win is going to really probably guarantee you almost a playoff place already at that stage. It's going to get you really close to it, if not guarantee it. And to perform like that against a team, obviously, that's one of the top 4 teams in Italy last season. We didn't look troubled at all, really, during the night. And it was just, 9 points out of 9. I remember, there's so many memes going around, top of the, the one where King Charles now obviously he's unveiling the portrait, and it's like it was like the Champions League table, Villa at the top. I just thought it's amazing, but I still think all of us thought, will it last? Will it last? Well, I think the next game was slightly different, wasn't it?
It was. We were, slightly brought back down to earth with a bump, as we mentioned in before, Tyrone Mings against Brugge. And it was, I guess, it was almost like the 3 points that we got off of Bayern Munich was, a bit of a wake up call and a bit of a check about, there are teams in Europe that know how to play. And I guess we just didn't quite do ourselves justice. And I would lump that in with the Monaco game as well, like a couple of games where we just didn't quite get it right tactically. Maybe we didn't quite go for the game where we maybe could have done at times. Maybe we thought we'll go in and try and play for a point, and then you end up getting punished. And I think that's maybe a lesson we've got to take into certainly moving forward, in the next round of the competition.
Yeah, look, this is the thing I think which has been the frustration this season is that when we play to our best, let's be clear, Villa fans, right? If we play to our capability, we're going to win every single match we play, right? So we'll win the Premier League with what's that going to be? 124 points or something? I don't know what the maths is on that, right? 114 points maybe. Like, we're gonna win the Champions League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup. Not every team plays to their potential all the time, and there is going to be times against teams that you should beat that you don't, and teams that you probably shouldn't beat that you do. And that's also the same with players. You'll get inconsistency of performances from players, and other times they are brilliant. Yeah, by the way, on that one, I don't sing that. I sing a different version of that song. Everyone else is singing the Lazio Roma one. And I was singing, what was I singing? Something in Dortmund, I don't know. I do my own version of teams that are actually in the Champions League. But anyway, that's because I'm a bit attention seeking like that. Like, none of us liked the Bruges performance. I know Mystic Emery, Mystic Mings obviously knew that we needed to lose the game 1-0 to perfect the route through, but it's surely to be expected that you're not going to perform to your top level all the time, and that is why this season of the ups and downs is so much more dramatic, because just when you start to think, we've basically screwed it up and it's all over and we can't beat, we get a good win, then we lose to Wolves, then we get a good win, and then Palace batter us. Well, look what's happened since then. 4 wins in a row,
Yeah.
across 3
Yeah.
competitions.
Yeah, it's all about learning. It's all about taking the experiences and progressing from them. And you can tell in a number of these European games, had we not have, you never want to lose games, but had we not have gone through those points, would we be here now in the sitting in the quarterfinals? It's you can't say that, but we've managed to perform in. I say those 2 results were quite disappointing, but the kind of that middle ground of the Champions League group phase, we did pick up a couple of decent results, and it was a 0-0 draw against Juventus. We were absolutely robbed. By the way, not the best of games. I think Juventus came for a point.
It was a 1-0 win. That was.
It was a 1-0 win. I mean.
Yeah.
How he gives a foul on Diego Carlos against the goalkeeper, I will never know. Morgan Rogers was absolutely robbed of a goal. And then an absolute humdinger of a game at Leipzig. And Leipzig was seeded in pot 1, when the draw was made. It was Munich and Leipzig. And Leipzig absolutely stunk the place out in this Champions League. But they were still pretty dangerous when we played them. And we got a good win there. Ross Barkley getting the winner. 3-2 win, another howitzer from John Duran as well. And again, showed how we could be very entertaining in Europe, and we weren't afraid to score goals.
Yeah, that was a really good win, because let's not forget, we were pot 4, weren't we? They were pot 1. So, really, like, it's almost like a Real Madrid versus sort of, Tromso, isn't it? Type game, like we're the plucky team that have got through, and it looked the other way around. It absolutely did. Great win. Winning away from home in Europe, as we've seen many times, is not an easy thing to do. And yet, we've done it this season. Well, we've done it in the last couple of years. We've beaten some really decent teams away from home. So great win. Great for Barkley to get the win out, obviously, in terms of being influential. What a difference that has that made to our progression. Duran obviously doing his bit in terms of contributing. I always think it's interesting as well. Obviously, I josh about the Juventus game being a 1-0 win, but just like we did against Bruges with Mings' handball, and we worked out, well, actually, if we'd got one more point, City one less goal. I wonder whether if we'd beat Juventus, if anyone can tell me this, if we beat Juventus, say we'd had 3 more points and 1 more goal, who would we have played? Who would we have played in the round of 16? Because it might have been a very different situation if you're playing a Bayern or a Real Madrid. Like, actually, it's kind of like a thing. Have you seen that thing that goes around where it's like an old kind of fable, but like basically loads of people get called because there's a war, and one kid can't go because basically he's hurt himself, and everyone says how lucky he is, and then he falls off a horse, and everyone says how unlucky he is, and then he falls in love with a woman that kind of treats him, and everyone says how lucky he is. And the point of the story is that you never know the situation you're in, whether it's lucky or unlucky. You just got to try and make the best out of it. And I think that's a really lovely way to think about it. And in football, you're not going to win every game. So you've got to take what you get. Hey, listen, you lose a final, fine. Obviously, there's not many positives to take out of that, but you know what I'm saying? You're going to get some games where you don't win. As long as you're still fighting and you're still alive. And I think we've done that really well as a team. It doesn't feel like any of these bad defeats have really hurt us. We're almost a bit kind of nonchalant about it. Like, you get battered by Palace and move on.
Yeah, we've kind of been like that under Emery for the whole time. I mean, I remember we went on a run of like 3 defeats in a row when not long after he first came in. Well, I think it was like Leicester, Arsenal, and maybe one other game that we lost.
Yeah.
And that was kind of then before we went on that crazy winning run. But generally, we've sort of bounced back quite quickly after a defeat. We've never let it sort of linger with us, and I think that's just down to the tactical plan that he's got and the structure that he's got, and also now it's to do with he's got a hell of a lot of players that he can rotate, and people are going to be ready to take someone's place. So that's really, really, really important. Now, we touched on the disappointing result against Monaco, but we're still in huge contention for the top 8. And I mean, I don't think the Champions League, in terms of the UEFA, could have organised it or arranged it any better for that final game night to have so much riding on so many positions within that league ladder. And what a night, what a game, the Battle of Britain, all that kind of stuff. Aston Villa against Celtic, the way the game panned out, Morgan Rogers getting us off to an amazing, amazing start. Then we get pegged back 2-2. Then we miss chance after chance after chance. Finally, Ollie Watkins gets his first Champions League goal, and then to top it off, Morgan Rogers at the end gets his hat-trick, and we somehow managed to qualify for the top 8. I can't remember what result it was, but every other result went, out of our favour. But there was one result that kept us in that top 8, and we managed to get into the last 16. And again, just we would have been happy to make it into that playoff round, that top 24, but to actually qualify for the top 8 with a record of 1-5, drew 1, lost 2 was absolutely incredible achievement.
Yeah, I think after getting the 3 wins on the spin at the start, I think you would then hope you get top 8, but still, particularly with Bayern being one of the games you've got out of the way as well, the hardest game. But before, you're taking. We all said we take playoffs, but hopefully you finish higher up in that sort of positions, 9 to 15, 9 to 16, whatever. So you get a better draw potentially. And I am surprised.
Michelle said it was the Barcelona game. That's right. Right.
It was the Barcelona game, and I'll tell you how I remember that well, because I remember there was a point in Villa Park when everyone's refreshing their phones. I remember thinking,
yeah.
How, I remember being at Sheffield Wednesday away in the Championship, and watching that amazing game against one of my favourite ever games, the game against Rotherham on the telly, when Mings gets sent off, 10 men, come back, Grealish scores that goal. You just, love that third kit, amazing Championship memories. To then think that, fast forward 6-ish years, that I'm going to be transfixed on the result of the Barcelona game, because that's going to mean whether Barcelona win, lose, or draw, whether my team will get through to the knockouts of the Champions League. I now care about Barcelona's results because it affects my team. Wow. And then I think it was Lille were absolutely battering. Who was they playing? Was it Lille? So it was beating Brest, and they kept going 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, and all of a sudden
it was crazy.
They were ahead of us, and it was like, oh my God, one goal shifts here somewhere. It's over. And that game, I mean, the amount of heart palpitations going around that stadium would have been absolutely crazy, because classic Villa, you're 2 up, you're cruising. And I think a lot of us were saying this Adam Mead is not much cop. All of a sudden he scores 2 goals. And, I loved everything about that second half, though, because it was the resilience to get back into it when you've been pegged back, knowing what it means. We looked really good. I thought Watkins was excellent in that second half. I mean, I know he gets his criticism rightly at times in terms of the finishing. We didn't talk about that attempted chip yesterday, by the way. Let's not talk about that, right? But but his running power, his conditioning in that second half was absolutely fantastic, and a comfortable 4-2 win against the best team from Scotland. And unbelievably, you've secured top eight qualification by the skin of your teeth. So surely that means you're going to play a really, really top team. And well, we got Bruges again, didn't we? It could have been a few of the other ones, but we got Bruges.
Yeah, and obviously we've discussed it about the performance away from home, staying in the game, key substitutions, and then the professional performance yesterday. And what I wanted to touch on, though, before kind of a couple of the key questions, the number of goal scorers that we've had, the number of different goal scorers we've had in this Champions League, and that points to the firepower that we've got. You mentioned kind of John Duran, who's obviously not with the team anymore, but you know, Ramsey's scored, Tielemans has scored, Onana, Barkley, McGinn. Now we got Rogers, Watkins,
Asensio.
Asensio, Bailey. You know, we've had that's like 10 different scorers or something that we've had in this competition. I mean, that shows you the level of firepower that we've got in this side. And all again going into the next round against Paris Saint-Germain, you know, they won't know a huge amount about players like Morgan Rogers or about Jacob Ramsey. Yes, you can do all the scouting you want, but you know, in terms of a surprise factor, I think there's an element there that we can catch them unawares a little bit. And yeah, the number of different goal scorers we've got does bode well for moving forward in the competition.
Well, in the Premier League, we've not had that many goal scorers really in terms of
No.
both, different ones, but also numbers of goals from the players that are here. And that's why we are in such a terrible goal difference. But I do think it's a combination of factors. I don't think it tells the true story. A couple of bad defeats and and missing a lot of big chances in terms of Watkins, and all of a sudden you combine that together. I don't know whether now actually this kind of thought that we're going to catch fire and give someone a tank in, which I've been saying for a bit of time, and a few fans have said the same thing. I've even seen it in the comments tonight. Whether because there's so much at stake now with like 2 months of the season left, we're fighting on three fronts. Whether we're going to have the energy to please give us a like, that'd be great. Whether we're going to have the energy to start beating teams 6 or 7 or 5 or 6-0, whatever. But I mean, the quality that we've got to be able to make the changes that we made from the bench yesterday, and the changes that we made, obviously in away in Bruges, the changes we've made many times this season, the changes we made in the first game of the season against West Ham. When Duran and Ramsey and Matson were combining to get us the win. There's incredible quality now in that team, and you say PSG will underestimate a Ramsey and maybe a Rogers. I think they'll be underestimating a Mings. I think they'll be underestimating a Watkins. I think they'll be underestimating a lot of players because we don't know anything about them. Obviously they're not idiots, and they're a quality team. I think they've really reinvented themselves well from this team that were the
Yeah,
Galacticos
good side.
to Enrique, obviously he's had some, obviously horrible in issue with his daughter, and absolute quality guy. You can see that he's a great coach, and he's done a fantastic job, and no mean feat to beat the team that are top of the Premier League by an absolute canter, and top to the Champions League as well, to beat them pretty convincing. They deserved it, over the two legs for us to play them. But it's Unai Emery.
Yeah,
And he's got
yeah,
a point to prove against the team that he managed. You've got the Asensio link, obviously, in terms of being currently a player of theirs, but of course, under the rules, he can play for us. And yet, for them, this is the draw they would have wanted. They're going to look at this like we looked at Bruges. It could have been worse. And
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
second leg at Villa Park, do
You just got
you?
to stay in the tie. You just got to stay in the tie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's that Ron Saunders quote, isn't it? Do you want to bet against us?
Yeah, absolutely. I do like the way they play. They remind me of the Barcelona under him, and
Yeah.
the Spain team under him. Like just direct, quick passing. The obviously work and work and work and work at the set moves that they play, because they drop passes into areas that they know that the player that they're passing to is going to run onto, and that's something that we're going to have to really watch out. But I do think we can be dangerous with players. We see the passes that Yuri Tielemans can pick out. You see how Morgan Rogers, if we get him into the middle, how he can just run at players. They won't know what's hit him. Like, they will not know what's hit him if he gets into full flow. So it's just about us being able to stay in the game and take our chances when they come. So, but that's for a few weeks' time. But there's loads of people in the chat kind of asking about it. So PJJ says Villa v Bayern final. I think someone else says, Real Madrid, we're going to get Real Madrid in the semis. Just imagine Real Madrid at Villa Park in the semi-final, said Matt. So this is the big question. Can we go all the way, Kev?
Richard, you know my views on this. The way any kind of sports competition works, I don't know if you're aware of the rules, Richard. but there'll be various teams in it, and one of the teams has to at some point win the competition, and that can only be a team that is still in the competition. And just like in the FA Cup, we are still very much in it. Is it likely? No. At some point, a PSG, Bayern, Barca, Real Madrid, these monolithic, behemoth, huge clubs with all this experience, maybe just like with Olympiacos last season against a lesser team, really, you will run out of steam. Maybe it'll be too much. But if there's one man you'd want at the helm, it's Unai Emery. I think this is our best run of performances all season now with 4 wins in a row. 2 of those in the Champions League, obviously against Bruges. You got a Cardiff win, great win away at Brentford.
3 clean sheets as well.
3 clean sheets, one of them with Olsen in goal as well.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a chance to make it 5, obviously with Preston, 5 wins in a row. And momentum, as we know, is massive in football. It's massive. You got players getting more confident each day from the new signings like Disasi, Rashford, and obviously Marco Asensio. You got players coming back into the squad. You got players seemingly like they're hitting form like a Mings and a McGinn. And you are going to get a couple that drop off. Bailey's been certainly better lately than he was at the start of the season. Not perfect.
Yeah.
Watkins has dropped off a bit. Who's to say won't come back? It's an incredible time, obviously, for Villa in terms of where we're at in these competitions. But you got to want to now take the opportunity to get through. And we dream to have the second leg at Villa Park. I really feel like you in the quarterfinals.
Something special can happen. I do.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. The likelihood is, if all things equal, if we did get past PSG, you've then got to get past you're going to face Real Madrid, and you've got to get past Real Madrid, and then the likelihood is it's going to be Barcelona
or Bayern
Munich. So, as PJJ said, that could be written in the stars that we're back in this competition and we're playing Bayern Munich in the final again. But mate, it's, as I said, that last 16 tie was won in the 10-minute spell in the first leg. We were 1-1. We were like, we'll take a draw, we'll take a draw, we'll take a draw. And then all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, you're 3-1 up away from home, going back to Villa Park with a 2-goal lead. Who knows? That could happen. That could happen at PSG. We could be absolutely backed against the wall, ridiculously under pressure. And then we could go up the other end and Tyrone Mings could head one in and we're 1-0 up going back. I mean, that's what happened with Liverpool, wasn't it? They absolutely got battered. They obviously didn't do the job at Anfield, but you back Villa to do the job. And the point that I keep saying is that whether, and I had a little clip made up of this, but whether you've got Asensio, Bailey, and I don't know, Rashford off the bench, Ramsey off the bench, 3 players off the bench who can change a game, or you flip it, you start them and you bring Rodgers, Watkins, and Rashford off the bench. You've got game changers. You've got game changers. If it's not going your way in the first 60 minutes, you've got players who can come on and absolutely change a game. You've seen it multiple times now with Marco Asensio. You've seen it multiple times with Marcus Rashford. We've seen it with Jacob Ramsey coming off the bench. We've seen it with Leon Bailey coming off the bench. These are all players who can change a game and moments of magic, as our previous manager used to say. We have actually got players who can produce moments of magic.
Rich, you've also got as well. You've also got game savers off the bench.
I was just about to say, yeah. You've got the likes of Barkley, Onana, Disasi.
Cash has come on well and played really well at times off the bench this season. You can bring on a Maatsen to stretch your team, and give a bit more energy. Or there's you can bring on a Bogard who's been brilliant at times this season to do a job. And if everyone's fit as they're looking like soon, then you're gonna have a situation where, who'd have thought you'd bring off Kamara, at half time and get the impact. As long as I hope that wasn't any kind of injury related thing. But we've got now, like, if everything aligns for us and this squad gets to be fully fit, pretty much mostly fully fit. And the issue we've obviously had is we've had a lot of squad fit, but we've had departments absolutely struggling. Midfield's obviously been an issue lately with obviously Onana, Barkley, Kamara obviously being injured. You've obviously had the massive issues in defence, particularly central defence. If you can get a fully fit squad in all departments at a time when you're getting confidence because you're getting multiple wins in a row, momentum, and you're getting clean sheets, and you're not conceding your first shot on target, this is a lot of positive trends in the right kind of direction for us. And look, it's an absolute pipe dream, but why not? Why can't we win it? Will we win it? I don't know. I don't think I'm going to say we're definitely going to win it. Ask me when we beat PSG, but yeah, it's just you wouldn't want anyone other than Emery involved, and belief is a massive thing. And the other thing I was going to say was this team. If this was 2 years ago, and you're playing games like this, you've got no pedigree. We've beat Man City like 2 years in a row at home in the Premier League. You know, we've beaten Arsenal home and away last season. You know, we've taken points. I know we didn't beat them, but really Liverpool at home and Arsenal away were games where we easily could have won those games. We've beaten Bayern Munich. We've basically beat Juventus. We've qualified for the top eight, and then we've got through to the last eight. This team, they will be galvanized by the fact that they now don't think they are faking it till they make it. They actually belong here. And, you know, that goes a long way when you've got belief. And if we can just show that belief against PSG and play to our potential, then I really, really think like we've got a big chance. I don't see us getting blown away by anybody, because who's blown us away other than Crystal Palace in recent years? Who's blown us away? No one has.
No. It's
Spurs
such an exciting time. Spurs beat us 4-0.
Yeah,
it's such an exciting time, and it's great to be involved where the stakes are so high. You know, we could be in just over 2 weeks' time. We could be going to Wembley for a semi-final of an FA Cup. We could be approaching. We will be approaching. You know, Paris, going to Paris for a first leg of a Champions League quarter final, and then then the stakes get raised even more. It's what you want to be in. You know, it's what you want to be in. And if we, you know, I think Matt said there about, has anyone done a Champions League and FA Cup double in the season? Well, he thinks Chelsea might have done it, but it would be so special for Villa to do it. And, you know, for those players, particularly the likes of Mings and McGinn, for them to kind of get some silverware, for them to get a reward for the service that they've given to Aston Villa, and they will be so determined to get something over the line. And with the firepower that we've got, with the sprinkling, I said that Asensio was the kind of ace in our pack in terms of Champions League. He's certainly proving to be that. We've got a chance, mate. We've got a chance.
Yeah, we really have, mate. We really have.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll call it a day there. Thank you for reminiscing in the Champions League journey so far. And we don't want it to finish at the quarterfinals. We want to keep going. So hopefully we'll be doing another one, reflecting on a victorious Champions League campaign in the summer. So make sure you stay with the channel. We'll be back with more shows over the next few weeks. We'll probably do a fans forum next week. I've got a show coming up with Charlie, aka Academy AVFC as well. I think the youth team are playing tomorrow night, i.e. Friday night, in their quarter final of the FA Youth Cup. So make sure, I think that's on Villa TV. So we'll be reflecting on that next week as well. And I'll also probably do some transfer talk shows as well. There seems to be a few rumours. Asensio hopefully going to sign, but there's one or two other players bubbling under that where we might take a look at as well. So make sure you smash a like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Help keep the channel growing. And thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.